Hey guys, what's up? This is Slavic Friendly Evangelist coming in for a live episode, which I don't do often, but sometimes when it comes to really important things that are happening around the world or some stories that I want to talk about, I want to do a live stream about what's going on right now in America and Venezuela because these things are so big, what's happening around the world, that there's a lot of different parts about why America did this, January 3rd, why we invaded Venezuela, why there's so many different things happening right now, and what does it mean for the future, and what does it mean for the future of the United States and the world? Why is there seemingly so many crazy operations happening around the world? It's having to do with taking down the deep state, of course, which we haven't seen arrests happen, but also with taking down international leaders. What if it's all connected together? And I want to show you guys how everything that we're seeing today, even though Trump's not perfect, he's not a born again Christian, God is using him in many ways, as imperfect as he is, but he does want to bring stability to the United States and the world in certain ways, even though it doesn't look stable. Hey, what's up, Neil? So, hey guys, if you're tuning in, I'm just gonna maybe. What's up, Neil? Can you hear me? Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, today I just want to talk about tonight about what's going on with Venezuela. And if you guys can hear me, let me know. Now, there's a lot of different articles that I want to go over that kind of shows you like why this happened, what the result is, and why it's not just about the oil. A lot of people say that it's about the oil, which it is, because Trump even admitted it that it was about the oil, but it's also about the dollar, the U.S. dollar, being the top dollar in the world because Venezuela is part of the it operates with the BRICS nations. Brazil, though, below it does, but Venezuela is a big exporter to China with oil. I mean, like something like 60% or 70% of their oil goes to China. So this whole operation with Venezuela has been really about taking down China. So that's, if you look at it at a macrocosm level, it's really about stopping China in our hemisphere. No matter if you think it's right or wrong, this has been American policy since the 1820s because of the Monroe Doctrine. If you guys don't know what the Monroe Doctrine, I would encourage you guys to research it. Maybe not use Wikipedia, but use other sources that could help you understand what Monroe Doctrine is and why America has been kind of gave that up in the past 100 years because of the post World War II thing where we became globalized, and why America has sold itself out to China. And that's why when Trump came in, it was all about stopping China taking over America, stopping globalization, where all of our factories were going to China. That's why Trump won, really, in the middle country of America, and because they call him the deplorables, what Hillary Clinton said. But the reason why Trump won for a big part is because he wanted he's not been talking about this since the late 80s. Again, you can hate the guy, you can love the guy, but the thing is that he's been talking about this stuff since the late 80s. I mean, I saw the interviews he did, back in 2016, 2017, when he said that he wanted to bring back an industry back to America. So he's a big industrialist. And yes, he's probably has to answer to other big corporations or people and stuff, but the thing is that Trump, is his own man in many ways. Of course, he was bailed out by the bankers back in the 70s and 80s when he had bankruptcies. So, of course, there's probably business deals going on, and he's indebted probably to his $100 million backers in some ways. From America to Israel to other people, but in reality, Trump is not really a puppet. He's not being a puppet to what people accuse him of being, a puppet to Israel or a puppet to United Kingdom or a puppet to Qatar or a puppet to Saudi Arabia. Now, I've seen him over the past 9 years, and it seems like, yeah, he does things that are, weird. Like, you don't understand. Like, he says certain things that are bombastic and kind of weird, but and then his actions show something different, or in a way, he kind of draws out the enemy or the media, the fake news media, in order to say something and he does the opposite. So Trump is really trying to bring back America as the most powerful nation in the world and stopping the globalization. And so Venezuela is a big part of that because Venezuela is where it basically is the backyard of global the drug trafficking. Now again, it's not the main one. It's actually Colombia and other countries, which I believe Trump will also start pressuring because a lot of the drug trafficking goes through Colombia. But the other thing is that and excuse me guys while I change some settings, but the other thing is what's going on is that it's also about it's also about many different things like just a second, just gotta change something. Thanks, Neil. You still there? So yeah. So anyway, so sometimes my stream goes a little off. So sorry guys if I freeze. It's just my internet. But the thing is that this is not just about oil, which it is because we've had like oil companies there for decades, and then the Maduro nationalized it. You know, like the socialists that he because a lot of the socialist nations nationalized it, the stuff that America brought in, and so it caused them to become really poor. So there is an issue with communism and socialism. Maduro is a dictator. You know, if he met Venezuelan people in America who, excuse me, escaped, you know, they all said that Maduro was a really evil man. And so, you know, the whole country went to hell basically in a handbasket. So, you know, Maduro's not a good guy. And again, I'm not for regime changes. You know, I'm not for 20-year wars. I hate all that. You know, even Trump hated that. You know, he talked about it. So I'm not for that. So, you know, when Trump says and people say like, you know, it's all about regime change, it does, but at the same time, it seems like it was as like an extraction, like in the Hollywood movie where the president went in and captured the president and then brought him into trial. And that's what, and I've never seen that happen before in my life. I've never seen, you know, Bush and all those guys because they kind of like captured Saddam, but then you know he killed him, you know. But with Maduro, it seems like his wife and him. Cool, hey Neil, that's good, thanks. So it seems like it seems like with Maduro is that he is going to testify. And I don't have any intel, like, you know, I'm not connected to high level people at all, but I believe based on my what I've been praying about is that I think he's going to testify, and he's going to testify about the election, the 2020 election, and the Smartmatic election. You know, basically it was in 2020, and since 2005, if you guys research, and I could show you some of that stuff, if you research it since 2005, um, there has been sorry. So there has been actually the use of this software called Smartmatic. And if you guys back in 2020 remember, Smartmatic was the software that was used to elect Biden. Now it was also, I think, used for Trump, but you know, Hillary. I mean, they said they had 99% chance that Hillary would win. I remember because I was in college. I was back in Missouri in my college, and I was like working out or something. And I remember the election night. And I remember, you know, it said it on the TV and the news and the internet that he had like that Trump had like 1% chance of winning. So the whole media was literally in the tank for Maduro. I'm sorry, not Maduro, Hillary Clinton. And so the question was like, how did Trump win in 2016? Now, again, it was because millions of Americans came in even more than before during Bush, Reagan, and they really didn't hated to see where the country was going. So they voted for Trump. So that beat the cheat because every election has some sort of, you know, cheating device. But it was strange how Hillary Clinton really lost because she was supposed to win. They never thought she would lose. That was literally the whole plan of the globalists, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you know, that she was going to win and she was going to allow for the takedown of America slowly, taking away Second Amendment rights, going to war with Russia, causing World War III, you know, which was the plan because she hated Russia, wanted to go to war, sold the uranium one to them through Obama. So again, I'm explaining this and I'll show you guys the articles, but it seems that with what happened with when Trump came in and the election software, it seems like in 2020 the cheat was so big that people started suing, you know, going to court, but the court kept throwing it out and saying they have no standing, which is ridiculous because the standing was the United States citizens in Arizona, Missouri. I was in Arizona and I know Arizona was stolen. 2020. It was it's kind of weird how it all changed. If you remember, after 2 a.m., like Trump was winning, all of a sudden Biden went way up, and then more people voted for Biden than did for Obama, which doesn't make sense. Like it just completely doesn't make sense. So there was definitely false, voters using the false systems. But again, all that was conspiracy theory until now that Trump has been talking about more and more. I'm going to show you on his Truth Social page that he actually is talking about Maduro and the election using Venezuela's Smartmatic system. So there's a lot that's going on here. And I really believe that the only way to really resolve this whole international cartel and to take down the globalists is to use the military, because it seems like Trump is using the military all the way. He put Pete Hegseth in there, and Pete Hegseth, is a born again Christian. If you learn his testimony, not perfect, he swears a lot, but again, probably because his Marine Corps days. But he basically is the one who says FAFO, F around, find out, fool around, find out. And so now all of these dictators like Venezuela and Cuba's next, and Colombia's next, and probably North Korea, they're all installed by the deep state and the globalists in some way, fashion, shape, or form. Now, it doesn't mean that Trump doesn't have to talk to them. He has to talk to them, but at the same time, if you want to take down an international cabal and cartel of people who run the world system, international bankers, you have to take down the countries, because to them the whole world is a chess game. So to them it's like a game of risk. So each country represents a piece of the puzzle. It's not really a country, it's more like a territory. So basically what Trump and the military are doing is they're taking down certain chess pieces. And I don't know how big Venezuela is, but I think it's a huge piece in the puzzle. And I do believe, based on what I'll show you, is that they're going to use Maduro's testimony to probably show how the election was stolen in 2020, which will lead to treason charges for Biden, Obama, and Hillary, and all these, which I pray happens, because Trump promised that Hillary would be arrested. And again, he has to look, kind of like he can't be, arresting everybody, especially former American leaders, but he can do that if the evidence comes out independently not from Trump, but from the DOJ, from Congress, that all these former American leaders were actually traitors. And so I think this is how it's going. But so I want to show you guys something interesting. So this was the attack. And if you guys are still here, let me know. There's like 3 viewers here. Hey, what's up, you guys? Let me know if you want me to go anywhere else in this direction. But I'm gonna start logically, and I'm gonna show you guys what is going on. But so anyway, so this was the attack that happened. Venezuela under attack. Maduro was captured. This is what happened. Recorded. Okay, so that was part of it, and then here's another one. So this was one of the bombs that I think, or one of the planes that dropped a bomb on Venezuela. Kind of crazy if you think about it. But the crazy thing is about this is, again, I'm not for regime change wars at all. I'm not a neocon, constitutional conservative. It does seem like it's legal based on the War Powers Act of 1970 that Trump could do this, because every single president since 1970 has been actually allowed by Congress to, attack a nation for 24 hours, or, capture a leader. And then the president has 60 days based on the War Powers Act to do a military operation. And then beyond 60 days, he has to get congressional approval to go to war. And so when the Iran war happened, a lot of people like Tucker Carlson and, other conservatives were like, oh no, like we're going to war. And I thought that too. I was like, God, please don't let us go into another war. Don't let us have an invasion where we have Chinook helicopters over Iran or Venezuela. Like, go to war, commit millions of troops there. I mean, we don't need that. And Trump was always against that since 2015. So I knew, I was like, why is Trump really for these wars, or is he just for deep military action. So that's the question. So okay, yeah. So basically, the question is, why is Trump doing this? Because again, I guess legally, again, if you want to get supremely Constitution Article 2, I think Section 1, um, paragraph 1, I think it says that the president, all the power is vested within the president of the United States to do military action, executive stuff. So if Congress has a law, which they do, that there's narco terrorism going on and international drug trafficking that's affecting the United States citizen, which is clear and present danger, then under the War Powers Act of 1970, presidents can extract bad leaders and other nations. Now, again, it has been abused by Bush since 9/11, which again has so many questions. And I think Trump knows the truth about 9/11. I believe is definitely allowed by the government to happen. Had CIA involvement in it, of course. No way this 19 hijackers just did it. There was definitely a lot more involvement with CIA, MI6, Mossad, all these other intelligence agencies that I think will come out in the future. But so other presidents have misused these powers. But it does seem like that Trump, what he's doing is that he's extracting the elected, I guess, dictator of Venezuela because he wants information from him to know the truth about everything that's going on with narco terrorism, with international drug trafficking and cartels. And and so yeah, and the problem is that yes, the Congress was notified afterwards. So it's like, yeah, which is what I said, Article 2 of the Constitution. Now, Senator Marco Rubio told Senator Mike Lee that it protected U.S. personnel, executes Maduro's arrest warrants. So I don't know. I mean, because previous administrations always notified, they always notified Congress. But this administration with Trump, he's not doing that. And I wonder, this is, I think it will be proven in the future. This is just my opinion, but I think it's because Congress is so corrupt and everything gets leaked so fast that Trump does not do that. He doesn't notify Congress like other presidents did. And so the idea is that if it was done illegally, was it because they didn't notify Congress, or was it because they have the ability to do that? Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is so the Trump, after they captured Maduro, Trump told the news that the troops would not be in Venezuela if Maduro, vice president, does what he wants. So it does sound like a dictator-like thing, but at the same time, because America has been affected by what's going on in Venezuela, and these are more pictures, it seems like that Trump, is, and again, I'm not justifying all his actions. He's not he's not God at all. Jesus Christ is my God, but and he's my president, and I voted for him. But the thing is that I'm giving it time to really think about what's going to happen. I'm not, going to condemn it now because Maduro is a totally evil guy. There's a lot of Venezuelan people that and I know that have said, hey, Maduro kind of ruined Venezuela. It's became the poorest country in the world. I mean, in the Western Hemisphere, you have one of the richest countries in the world, and now it's poor. And so socialism does destroy nations. And I'm from a former communist country in Ukraine, so I'm not for any of these socialist countries. Now, people say like, well, because Venezuela didn't have a Rothschild bank, and like North Korea, that's why we went to war in order to give them a Rothschild bank. I don't know. I mean, I've seen all these memes. I've believed some of them, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like that's the case here, because all these Rothschild, countries that don't have a Rothschild bank, they are pretty bad to live in. They don't have any rights. So, I'd rather have, like a good economy, and I don't know, I don't want to have a mafia, but I don't, the Rothschilds are evil, and they need to be arrested and executed for what they've done for 200 years, controlling the world. They're a satanic mafia, inbred family. But the thing is that all these countries that they say like Trump's attacking because they don't have a Rothschild bank, like Venezuela and Iran, I don't know if that's really the full truth. It just seems there's a bigger play here, and it seems like that it's to take down the international banking cartel that uses narco trafficking to fund itself, and that's what I think is happening here. Now, they said that they're gonna elect the vice president's Delcy Rodriguez, and then basically right now, because of what's going on, Rodriguez is sworn in as Venezuela's interim leader, Trump said, and then the vice president became the president now. But at the same time, Trump uh, Trump said he's not considering military action against Cuba, which is like an ally of Venezuela. But Trump also doesn't trust the vice president, nor does he nor does he really support Mikado, which is like the opposition leader, the woman opposition leader. And the thing is that if you research about Mikado, or Mikado, whatever her name is, she does have CIA ties. So that's another problem. So it's like, okay, so Trump and the military took down Maduro, which, bad guy. Now, are they going to replace him with another less bad guy that's ours, just like we've been always doing since the 1950s? And, Operation Ajax in Iran. So that's the question: is he going to replace another leader that's like a CIA leader, which I pray not, because the CIA is the one that caused all the problems in our country. So the CIA works for the global bankers. They don't work for us. They're a Jesuit Vatican institution. There's different factions in the CIA. There's good people there, but the people at the very top, they're wicked and they don't care about America at all. And so the military always fights for the CIA. If you talk to any military high level person, colonels, officers, they know the CIA always tells them they're doing some kind of mission, and the military has to clean up the CIA mission or fight CIA funded soldiers in Syria. I mean, Congressman Matt Gaetz revealed that on Tucker Carlson recently, and I've known that for years too. So, so here's the thing about the Trump's the new leader that's about to be installed. See, this is why I don't think it's about a regime change specifically. I think this is way more. It's about keeping the U.S. dollar in hegemony, meaning keeping the U.S. dollar afloat so that we don't go into total economic collapse. So that America is still the world leader in power. And number two, so that we take down China, so that China doesn't have any power in the Western Hemisphere. So here's the thing. So Trump, here I'm going to read this. Trump's proposed democratic transition in Venezuela remains murky, in part because he decided the post-raid conference that leading opposition figure Maria Machado is ill-suited to replace Maduro, her rule since 2013. So Maduro's been a dictator since 2013 when he nationalized the oil industry, collapsed the economy, destroyed the country. So he's not a good guy at all. But now he's talking about the opposition leader. So this is a lot of people are saying, well, opposition leader is CIA, so it's all about globalism. And it's not that simple. So then it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or respect within the country. She's a very nice woman. This is Trumpian terms, but she doesn't have the respect, he told reporters at his Palm Beach residence. She wants some kind of Nobel Peace Prize, but doesn't mean jack. I mean, Nobel Peace Prizes, have been won by Obama. When he went to war with seven, Arab countries, and again, people say Trump's doing the same thing as Obama, but the problem is that Obama was a globalist. I mean, he was apologizing for America, he hated America, but he went to war in the Arab Spring in order to cause the overthrow of the Arab countries so the CIA could do its operations and then bring all the migrants into Europe and destroy Europe as part of the globalist plot. So Obama was not a U.S. patriot, nor was he a good president. He was a very wicked man, and I pray that he gets arrested soon, executed too, because he needs to be hanged as well. But the thing is that so Trump doesn't trust Mikado either. So it shows you there's something going on here that's different than what people are saying. The other conservatives that are saying, hey, what is this about taking down Maduro? Because what if a worse guy or worse woman comes along? Um, so it definitely seems like there's something more going on here than we know. Now I want to switch next to the celebration of what's happening in Venezuela. A lot of people are celebrating. I mean, all over, not just Venezuela. And again, there's some fake AI videos going around in other cities, not Venezuela, so they got to be careful of fake AI videos. But there does seem to be real rejoicing going on from people in Venezuela. So this article says, "My joy is too big. Venezuelan immigrants celebrate Maduro ouster." Um, So 1 in 5 Venezuelans left the country. See, this is why this is so bad. What happened when Venezuela and Maduro took power? When he took power, most Venezuelans fled. That's why you have so many Venezuelans in Florida. You have Venezuelans in California. You have Venezuelans in, I don't know, Texas. You have a lot of Venezuelans in America who actually love their country. They want to go back, but they fled because of all the corruption in Venezuela. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, this is not this does not look like Iraq 2.0. I pray that it's not. I really pray it's not Iraq 3.0. But it does look like there is something going on here, that because Obama was the president in 2008, and this happened in 2013 when Maduro came to power, and Hugo Chavez, of course. Hugo Chavez was a wicked man who hated God, Jesus Christ. They all say they're Christians, but their actions show that they're not followers of Christ at all. So they all hated God, of course. But so Maduro comes along and people flee because he, nationalizes the oil, which was built by Americans. He restricts human rights. He does a lot of bad stuff. So it says right here, Venezuelan migrants around the world erupted in celebration on Saturday following the U.S.-led deposition of President Maduro. Chants celebrating Maduro's capture heard here at Chile's capital. Venezuelans gathered because people escaped to Chile as well. We are free. We're all happy that the dictator has fallen. We have a free country. Venezuelan women spent last 7 years in Chile. So people fled Venezuela. It's kind of like Ukraine. They fled. I'm Ukrainian, but my Ukrainian people fled to Poland. Same thing. But that war is definitely very complex too, and it's not what it seems like. So then, since 2014, 7.7 million Venezuelans, 20% of the population, 7.7% have led the country. That just shows you this whole regime was a very bad regime. If you have 1/4 the country flee. So Colombia has largest diaspora, 2.8 million. Then you have Peru, 1.7 million. So yeah, that's why they're all celebrating. So yeah, it's very crazy that people were they were fled, and then some of them came to America, but I guess they were illegals or something like that, and they got kicked out. I don't know, but yeah, we need less immigrants here. I'm an immigrant myself, but I'm naturalized for 23 years, so I speak as an immigrant. We need to have a moratorium on immigration. Charlie Kirk said this before he died. He said many times, hey, we need a moratorium on immigration because there's just like for 5 years, just so that people can become part of Americans, so that they can, I forgot what the word is. It's like where you become Americanized. And I agree, even as an immigrant, people need to become Americans. They can't just be like, living in their own little enclave and never become Americanized. I mean, of course, speak your own language, have a Chinatown, whatever, but at least be American so that, you become Americanized instead of like leeching on the country. That's what I had to do. I had to become Americanized. Couldn't just be living as a Ukrainian, not accepting my new country's norms. But I had so much more freedom here in America to practice my Christianity too. So yeah, so this is what's going on with that. Now, the next thing I want to show you is Nicolás Maduro arrived in New York, and they're gonna actually have his trial on Monday. I can't believe this, how fast this is going. So I'm telling you guys, in 2026, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of things that are gonna happen really, really fast. And it's going to shock a lot of people. But if you've been prayed up, you've been prepared, if you've known what God wants you to do and how to pray for, the world and have the gospel spread, you're not going to be surprised, because I think it's judgment on all wickedness. It's judgment on all wickedness that's happening right now around the world. And Venezuela seems to be like the first country the first chess piece that's falling of the international global banking, or the cabal that's been running the world and trying to destroy America. So here's where he came. This is where Maduro came, in the detention facility in Brooklyn. Now, again, in Brooklyn, you have that Mamdani guy, the socialist Muslim guy, that literally loves people like Maduro. So that's another interesting thing. It's like, what's going to happen with Mamdani? Is he going to also be found to be guilty of doing some bad stuff? Is he going to be found a grift? Is the Smartmatic voting system that Mamdani was part of, Is that going to be found out that he was voted in by the voting system? Could it be? Could be. Very possible. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of interesting things that are going on here. But yeah, this is Maduro here seen to be leaving the helicopter, and it's very interesting. It's like a movie. It's a kind of amazing looking at this whole thing that happened today. It's like watching a movie happening in real time. Like, we literally see a president of another country being captured by Delta Force, and we're seeing on live television happen. And I've never seen that in my life except in Hollywood movies. So I'm wondering if there's some Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan stuff going on here behind the scenes. I mean, it is very exciting to see this stuff. Um, yeah, the LA mayor, of course, the communists blasted Trump for their reckless adventure to remove Maduro, who caused a lot of terror. So I don't know what her problem is, but she's a very wicked woman that needs to be removed too. So this is what happened with Maduro. Now I want to show you guys some other things before I show you a cool video. This will show you guys what is really going on. This is first of all, I want to show you how Venezuelans are celebrating through a video.
Venezuela. Al fin, señor, gracias. Gracias, amigo. Por fin, 26 años.
Ay, enséñame eso, hermano.
Los memes de nuestra felicidad. Marco. Mira cómo fue la vaina. Mira cómo fue.
Vamos, so they're all celebrating.
Venezolano reuniendo a algunos venezolanos que por su cuenta quisieron venir y otros que ya estamos.
¿Me escuchás? Informando. Luego.
Okay, guys. So yeah, you see, a lot of people are rejoicing. The Maduro has been taken out, and I see you guys voted with a poll. Do you agree with Trump arresting Maduro today? 100%. Yeah. So even though, again, I'm not for regime change of wars, I do feel like this stuff with Trump is different because he's doing things that are differently than what everyone would expect. He's taking down the international narco terrorism. Again, all the narco terrorism has been labeled as terror, or the narcotics and shipping of drugs has been labeled as terrorism by the United States federal government. So you have Trump, who's acting as the forefront, the tip of the spear for the U.S. military to go forward and to take down all of these cartels, international organizations. And I believe that when he traveled around the United Kingdom and he was walking in front of the Queen, it was showing that his dominance over the city of London, over the Rothschilds, over the Soros family, because Soros is the one who's using the United Nations NGOs. And if you guys don't know about George Soros, he's been basically working with the United Nations, which is a globalist organization created to create the New World Order, which, again, the Antichrist is going to come, not yet, but soon. But America is basically awakening right now and fighting back. But before the Antichrist comes. But what Trump is doing is that he's trying to take down Soros and all of the different people that were connected to him. Because if you study about Soros, um, I mean, Trump did say it's because of the oil too. So it's not like that's a secret. Yeah, America. I mean, Venezuela has 300 like billion something oil, whatever the indication is, 300 billion something barrels. So it's the oil too, but it's not just the oil. It's also because, um, yeah, it's also because it's to stop China and to take back the American companies that were built in Venezuela. So again, I'm not for regime change wars, but I am for people being free from dictators. Which again, I'm from Ukraine. As an American immigrant, I love America. And again, it doesn't mean I like Russia, what Russia's doing in Ukraine, because millions of Ukrainians have been killed. But Zelensky's also a dictator, and I know a lot of Ukrainians don't like when I say that. They say you're a traitor. But the problem is, I'm an American. I'm not a Ukrainian anymore. But the thing is that even the Ukrainians, with Zelensky as a dictator, because he's banning a lot of different denominations of the Orthodox Church, and I'm not Orthodox either. So I think Orthodox is a false system as well. But I'm also for principles, meaning that you ban one religion, what's not going to stop you from banning all of them? I'm basically banning all other Christian denominations. So, and Zelensky has been sending millions of Ukrainians to their death, forcing them, conscripting them. So I'm not for that either. I want people to have freedom of choice, not to be conscripted and die, against, Russia that has nuclear weapons and, they can easily win. So it's like, you have to think about what you're doing. So yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, God bless the stream was good. So yeah, Venezuelans praising God. Yeah, I saw that too. Venezuelans were praising God, and I was happy for that. Again, sometimes it just seems like a lot of times we think we know something, and then it's not the way it is. And I've thought about it too. I was like, why does Trump do these things? But then it turns out not to be what I thought. Like with the Iran war with 12 days, I thought it was going to be another World War III. It wasn't. So it's like, apparently, Trump knows what he's doing, that he's doing all these military operations, but it's not really, to get us stuck in these endless wars, which was wrong, was evil, was globalist, Rothschild, all that stuff. So, but it does seem like Trump is doing things that are different. And but we'll see. Again, as United States citizens, we are the power. We, the people, elect the president. We have to watch the presidents. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter if we like them or not. We have to be the watchers of our government. And if our government oversteps, we have to bring them back into line, which is why there's a big push towards not paying taxes. Because if you look at Minnesota and what's going on, again, I'm sorry, I'm going to rabbit trail, but a lot of people are saying no more taxes because why are we paying taxes? Where's the social contract here? I agree. Like, we shouldn't even pay taxes until all this corruption gets resolved and people get arrested and executed and all our money goes to back to us. We shouldn't pay taxes because the social contract is being broken. So I agree with that as a total constitutional patriotic American. But the issue is that if it's only about oil, as many people are saying, it's weird, the stuff that is happening, because it doesn't seem like it's only about oil. It seems like it's about bigger operations. Now, oil is a big part of it because, again, it's going to help America, and it's going to help the Venezuelan people to actually have an increase of GDP as well, because when you have those companies restarting, I don't know the intricacies of the oil industry, so I'm not an expert on it. There's a lot of YouTube channels who can talk about that. But what I'm saying is, from my point of view, in 33 years of living of life and studying geopolitics, understanding the intricacies of this, is that there's more than just oil involved here. There's a lot more. And even though Trump did say oil is a big part of it, he wasn't lying. Again, I want a president that doesn't lie to my face. Finally, we have somebody who's like not lying to my face, telling me that it was about something else when it really was about something else. So it's good that they're admitting that, yeah, it's about taking Maduro out as a dictator. It's about the oil to bring back, the oil in America, but also it's about the election as well. And I'm going to show you guys why that is the case, why it's about the election of 2020. But first, here's what Pete Heges has said about the operation.
going to look like protecting American interests and ensuring they're advanced, stopping drugs, ensuring that ultimately the oil resources are, he said it clearly at the podium today, we're going to get American companies in there, we're going to get investment there. These oil depots have been operating at 20% capacity. That's going to change, and we're going to stop the flood of people in the United States. It's a good day. Mr. Secretary.
See, so that's what I just said. I didn't even know he was going to say that. I read the thing, but I didn't play the video. So I knew that. I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, this is obvious stuff. You know geopolitics, you know about the dollar reserve, the currency, you know about China, you know about oil. You connect the dots and you start seeing, oh yeah, this is part of it is about the oil, but the bigger part of it is stopping China from having a base in Venezuela because of the Monroe Doctrine of the United States. It doesn't mean that you and I have to agree with it, but that's why this is happening. And I believe, as much as imperfect as Trump is, God is using him in certain ways to do something that to stop the globalist takeover of the world. You know, doesn't mean he's perfect, doesn't mean America's perfect, but there is something that God is using Trump to do. And again, I'm not for people dying for oil either. You know, I'm not at all. And I wouldn't die for oil either, ever. I would die for my country and defend our borders and the Bill of Rights. But the thing is that there is a lot of stuff that is going on that we just are not seeing. And so we have to really understand that we have to wait, and a few days and then see, like, okay, what is the result? Hey, because you're ready. Yeah, amen. So yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me explain the whole operation, because you got to see it through 30,000 foot view. You know, Trump, he talks very like an attack dog. He does a Sun Tzu, art of war. But the thing is that he doesn't really seem like he wants to like invade all these countries and stay there. He's not the type of guy. Back in 2018 or 2019, he actually met with a lot of soldiers in from Afghanistan that were dying. He was writing letters to them. I remember the story was shared by a famous economist, Martin Armstrong. And Martin Armstrong was at the dinner, and he said that Trump told him, he said that, why are we sending all of our boys to die in the Middle Eastern wars where they've been fighting for thousands of years? And that really impressed Martin Armstrong as an economist, because he was like, well, yeah, I mean, Trump doesn't seem like the guy that everyone said he was, like this dictator like Obama or Bush. It seemed like he didn't want to be in these endless wars, because what were we really doing there except sending our boys to die? And I believe the same Trump from 2017, 2018 is the same guy today, but he also is doing things that are way more military action minded than I've ever seen him do. Because again, there's been a stage set up to take down the whole globalist cabal in some way. And I think Venezuela is a big part of it. It's not all of it. There's the City of London, the Vatican, the Jesuits, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. There's all of these big families that run these countries. So when you see a leader of a country being taken down and being extracted to testify, there's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know. And I don't have military intel. I don't have a colonel that I'm talking to right now. I'm just using, going to God and using my mind, using intelligence to understand, okay, there's something more going on here than we know. So this is some of the interviews from the people that saw Maduro fall.
Leadership for about 20 years. So I can tell you, this feels like a breath of fresh air.
Did you feel this was the only way to get him out?
100%, yes. He will not leave. He's not the real president of Venezuela. No, it's not an act of war, it's an act of freedom.
I came in this country.
El pueblo llora por su libertad. Gracias a los Estados Unidos por liberarnos. ¡Y viva la libertad! Oye, el dictador cayó. Finalmente. Estamos libres, estamos libres. ¡Viva Venezuela libre! ¡Gracias! Dios. Gracias. Oye, el dictador cayó finalmente. Granadito, hermano, esto es real. Estamos libres. Mira, mira cómo está la gente. ¡Viva Venezuela libre! Gracias a Dios, esto es para todos los que aguantaron, se logró.
Gosh, never seen people so happy having a dictator taken down. Now, I know Iraq, that happened in 2003. Again, Saddam Hussein was a bad guy too, but the CIA supported him back in the 80s against Iran, and that was a huge CIA. Saddam was installed by the CIA. Osama bin Laden was installed by the CIA. So all these other regime change wars that were done, it should have been just a quick in and out, but it was really to extract resources, opium for the CIA. That's why we stayed in 20 years in Iraq. I mean, if you really just study 20 years, read all these books, understand all these, people who commented about it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it's like when you study and see all these things, you understand that Iraq and Afghanistan was totally for different reasons. Because it was all for us to die in those regions. Of course, it was about China in some ways, but it's also about stealing the resources so that we could fund the CIA. It doesn't seem like, now again, I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like this we're doing this for the CIA's benefit. I pray that the CIA is the one that's going to be taken down through what's going to happen with Maduro, because I think Maduro was allowing the CIA to operate there for its black ops operations, and so I think we're going to find that out very soon. So another thing I wanted to show you guys before I show you a video that shows you the Putin thing. Putin's not a good guy. I mean, he persecutes real Christians, but at the same time, I mean, I don't like Zelensky either. He's a dictator too. So again, I'm former Ukrainian, so it's hard for me to pick Ukraine over Russia, Russia over Ukraine, but I'm seeing it from a 30,000 point of view. Putin's not a good guy. He's a dictator. He's killed his own, he's killed people who challenged him. But at the same time, I think Trump is working with Putin, and because we don't want to have Russia as an enemy. We want to have Russia as a partner. And you can't control every single world leader. You can't tell them how to run their democracy, or their dictatorship. You just have to work with them. And so I understand, even as a Christian, it's like, yeah, wouldn't I love to have Jesus run every single government? That'd be great. But God gives people free will, and people in Russia, think Putin is popular. Not everybody, but a lot of people in Russia like Putin because he provides security. And as a former Ukrainian, I know that my family is all about having security. It's like if a guy can give us security and prevent us from foreign invasion, that's good. I like the guy. That's exactly how the Russians think, and Ukrainians in some way. But Ukrainians are more pro-freedom, pro-Western. So that's why I support the Ukrainian Christians, who are my brothers and sisters there. But the whole war is a waste. It should have never happened. And I think Putin hopefully will be taken down too. Because I think he's also run by the international bankers. If you really study Putin, he's definitely was put in by Yeltsin, and I think the CIA worked with him, and then he started hating the Bush and CIA because they started, controlling their oil stuff through the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, Putin's not a good guy, but I think Trump is somehow working with Russia in order to stop a bigger threat, which I think is the neo-Nazi cabal that's trying to bring Russia and America into World War III. So, we just have to pick the guy and work with him to stop the guy, whatever. But here's Trump talking about, and I'm going to finish very soon this video because it's about almost an hour. But this is Trump posting on his Truth Social, and I saw that today, and it confirmed my suspicions that this Maduro stuff is bigger than just oil. It's bigger than just he's a dictator, which he is, but it also has to do with American voting system, which was the Smartmatic voting system, which was created by 3 Venezuelans, and then it was shipped here to America and run through Florida. And so this is Trump posting on his Truth Social page. If you guys know, he has a Twitter and the Truth Social, and he posts on there, and he actually posted a video about the election. So check this out.
I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot. In other words, the printing process, appearance, is completely different than what you would get from a first-generation PDF printing. We had approximately 25,000 ballots that were not created from the PDF that is used for the election process. So in other words, the election provider comes up with ballots, and it's specific to a geographical area, because the person that lives in this neighborhood might not be voting for the same people that live in that neighborhood or another neighborhood. So here in Maricopa County, from memory, you had 5,012 or something like that, just over 5,000 different permutations and combinations to the ballots. Then that's multiplied by 2 because there's a Spanish version that's available for each one of these ballots, but it's the same ballot with the same people, just in a different language. So we've got we'll just say 5,000 different ballots for now that are created ahead of time, and those are created in PDF. Now, the big reason why is that you have a third party send out mail-in ballots, so those have to be created in advance. And second, for your early voting, you have vote on demand. So in other words, even if I live way out in the corner of the county, but I work downtown, I could go to something downtown that could print my ballot from my area, and I could vote here. It's convenient. A lot of people do that. So these PDFs are created in advance. They're obviously good quality PDFs, and when they're printed, they should look roughly or exactly the same. In this group of ballots, I find that the quality is severely degraded from what a PDF would be as if printed on demand, or if printed by your third-party provider who prints these all the time. I'm Eric Spakeen. I'm a forensic chemist and a forensic document analyst. That means I deal with all aspects of question documents, when they were made, if they've been altered, changed, or added to, and how long ink has been on paper. I was asked if I had experience in election matters to look at primarily printing processes, machine copied marks, CPS code, which is a counterfeit protection system. And I said that I did, and I traveled to Arizona with 3 other people from my office.
Yeah, and I live in Arizona, so.
Number one is that there were a series of ballots that I examined the photographs of, and Dominion, as the election subcontractor, produced ballots for each of the zones or districts that were involved, at least in the area that I looked at here in Maricopa County. And there were 5,000 approximately, a little over, different ballots. As you know, in a state, there could be 2 different senator races. There could be 10 different House races. And all the permutations and combinations is what gives you the 5,000. So they create a final ballot for each one of these districts or zones or regions, so that when you go in and you give your name and it knows you're from this area, you would get this ballot to vote on all the issues that pertain to you, and only the issues that pertain to you. And I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot. In other words, the printing process, appearance, is completely different than what you would get from a first-generation PDF printing. As you can imagine, the lines are perfect. So they're perfectly straight, no breaks in them, the circles or ovals as they may be, and they're a solid line. When I examined some of the early voting ballots and election day ballots from various polling locations, there were about 25,000 that did not have printing from this perfect PDF, as you would expect, but instead had breaks in all the same places around an oval. So you can look at one of the ovals and there are imperfections in the line, and they're in the same place on every single one of these ballots.
These 25,000 unidentifiable ballots alone represent over double the amount of Joe Biden's 10,457 vote mark.
In July of 21, actually before that, we told them in June, we told them that we suspected, from what we're seeing, 25,000 plus counterfeit, inauthentic ballots. That was early on in the process. Planted the seed inside this that you can't trust that, no, that's not it, etc. You'll hear more about it. But every one of the people up there knew this in advance, even of this hearing today. Now, the reason I bring that up is they had well over a year and a half to react to this so it wouldn't be duplicated in 2022, but they didn't. They did nothing, and they allowed it. They enabled this to be done.
I found that there were about 25,000 ballots.
So again, this is Trump posting about Dominion voting systems, because a lot of the stuff that was involved with Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems, a lot of it was done through Venezuelan beneficiaries. So that's why I think a lot of what's going on with the Venezuela stuff is really about the election, and we're going to see what happens very soon, and what's going to happen. So here's another thing about Venezuela.
DHS has acknowledged that Venezuela, for example, is emptying their prisons and their rehabilitation centers with the understanding you get out if you leave here and go to the United States.
Yes.
And DHS has, in writing, said, we know that's happening. We know they're coming here. We're processing them in and have no idea where they are.
Correct.
So in reality, they emptied their prisons. So the Democrats, they basically, because again, Maduro works for the globalist cabal. So Maduro allowed all of these prisons to be emptied, and then they sent all of these people into America, and the DHS knew that during the Biden years. Hey, what's up? So anyway, sorry, I was trying to hit that mic. Yeah. Um, so yeah. So the thing is that so a lot of these illegals came in because the DHS allowed it to happen under the Biden administration, and that's what caused a lot of these problems. And then another thing that Trump posted today, again, this is during the whole Maduro operation. I'm telling you guys, if you know how to read Trump's tweets on Truth Social, you can understand. Hey, you're welcome, Michael. Yeah. So you can understand, like, okay, something is going on with what's happening and with what he's posting, and you can understand, okay, this is what it's about. So was Dominion where a CIA analyst, Donald Trump retweeted, CIA analyst confirms that there is votes manipulated to change electronically in favor of Joe Biden. How was it done? I knew that. The CIA toppled the United States government November 3rd, 2020, live on national TV. Told you. Oh, you were in Ukraine. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was in Ukraine in 2017, 2016. I was in the war zone in the East Ukraine doing missionary work on the Ukrainian side. So yeah. That's cool. But anyway, so data analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from President Trump to Biden, 941,000 Trump votes deleted, state using Dominion voting switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden. That's how the whole election was stolen. I mean, see, guys, this is all about the election. This has always been about getting the crime, stopping the crimes of the deep state, which is the CIA. That's why I believe the CIA will be taken down. It's just happening very slow, but now it's going fast. So Trump keeps posting about all this voting stuff, all this stuff today. And, why? I mean, he captured Maduro. What does that have to do with Maduro? But it has a lot to do with Maduro. Hey, good night. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being a channel member and supporter. God bless you. So I'm almost done, guys, but I just wanted to show you really quick why Trump's been posting is because there's a lot of stuff that's going on here that we just don't understand. There's so much fraud, not only in Minnesota and other states, but there's fraud everywhere else, and it all has to do with the Smartmatic system. Now I want to show you guys something interesting. This is gonna be my last probably video before I log off. But hey, have a blessed night too. Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Yeah. Thanks for being a supporter of my channel. It means a lot. So anyways, this is going to be a video that shows you exactly what is going on with Zelensky, Netanyahu, and the Maduro stuff, how there's a revolution that's happening, and it's all about economics and stopping the globalist cabal run through London. And I want you guys to pay attention to this because this will show you why military is the only way to stop this, the globalist plot from taking over the world. Check this out.
Directly deployed to stop the national security strategy, and how Trump's economic revolution led by tariffs is the final blow to the British system. Now, if you're living in the world of binary choices, pro-Israel versus pro-Palestinian, free world versus Putin and the other autocrats, you're missing the tectonic shifts taking place. So you have Mike Pompeo screaming that Trump sold out to Putin. You have a part of the MAGA movement declaring that Trump sold out to Netanyahu, and another part applauding it. And they're all wrong. The truth is in this document, the 2025 National Security Strategy. And
I haven't read it myself a lot. I've seen parts of it, but I encourage you guys to read it because you'll understand the whole national security strategy and why military had to take down Maduro as the first domino to fall internationally. It's very important.
This week, Trump used it to clear the board. So let's start with Russia and Ukraine. The British and the EU sent Zelensky to Mar-a-Lago with a mission: demand open-ended security guarantees, NATO membership, and keep the war machine running. They're operating off of Winston Churchill's post-war playbook that says Russia is our permanent enemy. But Trump is operating off his new national security strategy. And here's what it says. It is a core interest of the United States to negotiate an expeditious cessation of hostilities in Ukraine to prevent unintended escalation or expansion of the war and reestablish strategic stability with Russia.
See, didn't I tell you guys? That was the whole point. The whole point of stopping the Ukraine war is so that America could be friends with Russia because of strategic stability, to be friends with another nuclear power, and to stop NATO advancing, and because that's what's threatening Russia. That's one of the core issues with Russia. Again, doesn't mean that you have to like Russia, doesn't mean you have to like Putin, but the facts are the facts. So this is all about stopping this neo-Nazi globalist operation, like in the Sum of All Fears movie, where the neo-Nazis in Europe were running America and Russia try to get into World War III. This is all about stopping that. I'm telling you guys, once you unlock the key to what's happening, everything with Venezuela makes sense. I mean, literally. And the next countries that are going to fall, just watch. It's all going to make sense.
And then a little later, and to end the perception and prevent the reality of NATO as a perpetually expanding alliance. That is what is driving Trump's negotiating position with Zelensky. So how did the empire respond to Trump's refusal to bend? Immediately after the meeting, drones attacked President Putin's residence in Valdai. The Russians were furious, but they called it a slap in the face to Trump. Now ask yourself, was this really just Zelensky going rogue? Or was the British hand at work?
All right, think about this. I've been telling you guys this for months now. Every time President Trump is close to ending this war, you have France that goes behind his back, stabs him in the back, and keeps the war going. Every time he has it close, Germany comes in and says, we must continue to give money and weapons. And then you've got all these secret missions coming out of the United Kingdom where they continue to attack Russia on behalf of Ukraine. Why? To keep this going. They need the money laundering going. They need this war to keep going. And look at this. Zelensky put out this messaging that the United States is going to put boots on the ground and that Trump agrees with that. That is not true. Trump does not want to be involved in any.
Told you guys. I mean, this video kind of explains the whole thing, that Trump is not trying to get troops on the ground involved like in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not about that. This is about stopping the globalist operation to get America and Russia into World War III. That's why he's like, here's the thing. I want all the global politicians to be arrested in America and the deep state and the CIA. And I think that will happen later on in the Trump administration. I believe it will. It has to, or Trump fails. But he's doing international arrests first because that's how you take down the the hands and the fingers of the deep state, and then go to the middle, of the spider web. So if you guys see, he's taking down the fingers, and then he's going to go the deep of the spider web, which is the CIA, FBI, Mossad, I don't know, elements of Mossad, MI6, all these intelligence operations that ran Epstein. He's going to take them down, but first he has to take down the tentacles first. Hey, that's what I prayed about, and I feel like God showed me that, and this video confirmed it.
Any wars, and yet you've got the United Kingdom, you've got the European Union, NATO, and Zelensky putting out these messages that are not part of what they really talked about. Instead, he says right there in his military doctrine, we want to end this. Russia is not the boogeyman, and we don't want to continually expand NATO any further. Let's keep going.
We're not alone in pointing out that British intelligence plays a bigger role in guiding these drone systems than the Ukrainians do. As the conservative Treehouse blog put it in their coverage of the attack, I suspect the British did it. So this wasn't a military strike. It was a sabotage operation designed to blow up the Trump-Putin peace channel. But Trump and Putin refused to take the bait. They aren't pawns anymore. Here's Trump's response.
Imagine making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer without relying on Google, Facebook.
President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. It's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they're offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that. And can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
So they literally attacked Putin within hours of this meeting in order to sabotage Trump's negotiations.
That in that conversation with Trump, Vladimir Putin emphasized that the Russian side intends to continue close and productive work with its U.S. partners in searching for ways to achieve peace. Now watch how this same grand strategy explains the panic over the Netanyahu meeting. For decades, the British have used the Mideast as the cockpit of war. They've created Zionism and Islamic fundamentalism to play the superpowers and victim nations against each other. The new national security strategy flips the board over. It accurately states that for a half-century, American foreign policy prioritized the Mideast above all other regions because it was a major energy supplier, and it described it as a prime theater of superpower competition. But the NSS goes on to say those dynamics no longer hold because superpower competition has given way to great power jockeying, in which the United States retains the most enviable position, reinforced by President Trump's successful revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf, with other Arab partners, and with Israel. Catch that? Revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Not Israel first, despite what Tucker Carlson thinks. Trump is saying, we're not playing your games any longer. And he is deliberately and quietly removing countries from the grip of the geopoliticians and treating them as independent nations with common interests with the United States, not as pawns or gas stations or triggers for religious prophecy. So in that content, here's what Trump actually told Bibi Netanyahu. You aren't the sheriff anymore. We'll take care of Iran if needed, and a coalition of outside forces will take care of Hamas if needed. Number two, we don't agree on the West Bank, and you're going to have to deal with that. And number three, the United States is working with Syria and with Turkey's Erdogan, whether you like it or not. Trump is taking countries who are run by not so nice people, like Syria,
and Venezuela, Maduro,
like Turkey, and for that matter, Israel, and moving them off Britain's geopolitical chessboard and into the world dominated by Trump's America First policies of sovereignty. This is grand strategy. For the first time since 1945, the United States is acting as a sovereign nation, not as the queen protecting the empire's chessboard. And Trump is knocking the chess pieces off their board one by one. He's replacing permanent war with bilateral business. This is really big.
I love that. He's replacing war with bilateral business. Think about how many wars.
This is exactly what he's doing with Venezuela. That's why he's starting business with the oil companies again.
Wars he's ended by using tariffs and
also gives a commitment to future National Defense Authorization Act, which was signed by the President on Thursday night. That act gives a commitment to US troops in Europe also highlights that it sees Russia as a threat not just to Europe but to the United States, and also gives a commitment to future US commitment to providing the senior military figure for Secure, the leader of the commander of NATO. Does my noble friend agree that we should be looking at actions rather than some of the wild statements coming from the White House?
Yeah. Then Lord Lancaster reported that he had just been in the U.S., where he discussed the problem of the national security strategy with members of the U.S. Congress.
I was in Washington, D.C. last week with other members of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and when the national security strategy was discussed with our fellow elected members in the U.S., their message was clear that NSSs come and go. Sometimes they're implemented and sometimes they don't. But we should judge by what Congress passes. And the National Defence Appropriation Act last week delivered an extra £8 billion to European defence and put a floor of some 76,000 troops, US troops in Europe.
All right. Now, I don't have the names, but what they're basically saying is that members of Congress and the Senate have let the United Kingdom know, just wait Trump out. And when he's out, we'll go back to what we were doing before, which is war and draining the U.S. Treasury on behalf of the globalists.
You hear that? National security strategies come and go. Does that remind you of what we reported last week? How outlets of empire like Chatham House and the Council on Foreign Relations want to outlast the president by bringing his economic and strategic revolution to an end in 2026 or 2028? How they're maintaining their Trojan horses in the Congress and the rest of the political landscape? The rhinos, the never-Trumpers like Mike Pence and the Koch interests. So while too many in the MAGA base are caught up in the fabricated faction fights and secondary issues, or frankly are acting like 5-year-olds demanding headline-grabbing indictment.
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing with this anti-Israel stuff akin to so on. It's like dividing the right. I mean, it just shows you that they don't even understand what Trump is doing. He's trying to save the world from globalist Britain.
Right now, Donald Trump is dismantling a strategic architecture that has been in place since 1945, an architecture that's used the United States as the dumb giant in the British Empire's globalist schemes, and the British know it. But even bigger than Trump's strategic revolution is the economic revolution, because that's what this is really all about. Go back to the end of World War II and the summit in Casablanca, where Franklin Roosevelt said to Winston Churchill, "Winston, we didn't fight that war to reestablish British 18th century methods." And Churchill countered and said, "What do you mean by that?" And FDR said, "A system that takes more out of a country than it puts back in." Well, Roosevelt died before the war ended. And the result was the ultimate triumph of British 18th century methods, or a system which takes more out than it puts in. Look at what has happened to the United States. We used to have a middle and working class based on a robust manufacturing sector and a tradition of family farms. And here's what's happened since the end of World War II. In 1950, 31% of the US population was engaged in manufacturing. Today, it's only 8%. And if you add other goods producing sectors like agriculture and mining and transportation, we used to have 55% engaged in productive activity. Today, it is less than 20. Our good paying jobs, our industry, our infrastructure, our family farms, they disappeared along with the middle class. Our economic sovereignty was stripped by British 18th century methods of financialization and free trade. In exchange, we imported everything, food, cheap crap, and our trade deficit exploded.
All right, you hear that?
In other words, more was taken out than was put back in. Donald Trump is reversing that. That's why tariffs are such a powerful weapon and are so hated by the global elites. And they're working. We're rebuilding our manufacturing base and our economic independence. In November alone, ground was broken on 136 new factories, 78 processing plants, and 199 new warehouses. But even more important than physical growth is the reawakening of a productive spirit within the population.
Think about it. President Trump has gone all over the world. $18 trillion committed to rebuilding manufacturing and jobs and production in
the opportunity of getting vocational training and having a productive job rather than a dead-end liberal arts degree with tons of debt. And even more important than that is the promise of the future, of going beyond where we were at the end of World War II, before we surrendered to British 18th century methods. Trump's Truth Social merger with TAE Technologies, one of the world's leading fusion energy companies, signals something revolutionary. Cheap, clean, limitless fusion power will drive our economy into the future and propel mankind into the solar system.
All right. I haven't had time to even share this with you because of all of the Somalis who don't have anything.
That is what will make America truly great and productive again. So as we stand on the eve of 2026, the 250th anniversary of our independence, we have an unprecedented opportunity. Trump is dismantling the entire post-war imperial system. He's ending perpetual wars. He's rebuilding American manufacturing. He's treating nations as sovereign partners, not pieces on a chessboard. But he can't do it alone. 2025 was an incredible year, but the British establishment wants to turn back the clock. They will fight with everything they have, using their assets in Congress, the media, and the intelligence agencies. They'll create chaos and try and turn Trump supporters against each other. Well, don't fall for it. Keep your eye on the strategic picture. And that's where Promethean action comes in.
All right. I'm going to put a direct link down below to Promethean so that you guys can learn more about what they're doing. Did you find this video valuable? Does this help you guys understand some of the thinking that I have? I know we got stuff with Israel. I know we got stuff with NATO, Ukraine, the British Empire. They're all trying to control America. They're all saying, we'll wait Trump out. Trump isn't waiting. He wants to make America great again. And part of that is making sure we have a strong border. Part of that is making sure we have a strong middle class, that there's incredible opportunity, that he gets rid of all of the illegals and all of the fraud. He is doing what no president was willing to do. Barack Obama literally went on an apology tour, apologizing for American excellence. Then before that, Bush, Clinton, all of them, they gave away our jobs. They emptied the country to enrich everyone else. And Trump is enriching the country and saying, screw you guys, you can figure it out. So give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. I love you. Stay amazing. And I will see you on the next one.
So yeah, guys, so I wanted to share that video because I didn't see it all the way through. There's some stuff probably I didn't agree with him, but he is right about the fact that the city of London is running pretty much everything. And so a lot of the times people don't understand that, like, countries like, you know, Venezuela, Ukraine, Russia, they might seem corrupt and dictatorial, which they are, but at the same time, they're also being run by money powers. And so, you know, as much as I support, you know, Israel's existence and the Jewish people having a home, I also know that Israel has a deep state. You know, I have a friend, ministry friend, who preaches in Israel, and he barely got out of his alive from Jerusalem because they tried to take him, you know, like physically kill him. I guess he had to escape because he was preaching the gospel. So yeah, there's heavy demonic activity, Antichrist presence in Israel, but it doesn't mean that we go against Israel, you know, and don't not stand with them against the horde of Islam. But at the same time, Israel has its own deep state, you know, has its own problems. It also wants America to probably, you know, help them strategically to get rid of all the other countries. And then Britain also, you know, wants America to be in NATO, in Europe, and to use America as the big giant to fight Russia. So you have all these nations, and South America wants America for some other reason, like cartels and, you know, other stuff. So we have to understand this at a bigger chessboard. It's not that individual nations are so wicked and corrupt. You know, it's not that Israel. Yeah, it's hard to share the gospel openly in Israel, but people do it. You know, One for Israel does it. I pray for Israel. You know, God has a plan for the Jewish people. Amen. But it's just hard because it's just, you know, I mean, you got to think about, like, you know, what happened to Jesus there and the heavy presence of Antichrist spirit there. But the issue is that America cannot be used for globalist things. It cannot be used by other countries. It has to bring everything back into America. And then once it does that, then we're going to have to really start rethinking how we're going to rebuild our economy. So yeah, it's all about Britain, guys. It's been always about Britain. It's always been about Britain and the Rothschild bankers. And I wanted to show you guys that, you know, that it's very important to understand that because it does seem like that they allowed Maduro to be, to surrender, because I think that, you know, if he didn't, then he would be killed. And so it was a good option for him to come to America and surrender. And I think Russia and China somehow allowed him to get surrendered, because how did the special forces capture Maduro so well? So thank you guys for tuning in. You know, I appreciate you guys staying here. Neil, you know, Michael, there's a lot going on here in Venezuela. It's a bigger operation, but I do believe Maduro needed to be taken out. Venezuela is going to be more free now. The GDP is going to come back up. Of course, the oil is going to be restarted. But it's not about occupation. That's not what Trump wants. It's not what he's been trying to do. He's just trying to stop the international banking cartel of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds from running the world system. And it's a good thing that he's doing, and everyone's going to benefit. America's going to benefit. Israel's going to benefit. Ukraine eventually, once this war's over, is going to be rebuilt. Even, God bless you too. And all the other nations are going to benefit somehow, but Trump has to take down the international global cabal first. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's an hour, 20 minutes of explaining the operation. Let's pray that Jesus Christ, becomes Lord of people's lives, that we keep sharing the gospel. It's all about, at the very end of the day, none of this worldly politics matters in the end of the day. I mean, it does matter, but if we die and we go to hell, then everything we live for here is really for naught. We have to repent of our sins and put our faith in Jesus Christ. And I pray that you guys do that before you die, because God has a plan for your life to live for him, not to die in your sins. And he has a plan to use you in this end times. Amen. To use you as his tool and his tip of the spear to share the gospel with others and to save people from the world system that the devil runs. Because right now, even though God is preventing the devil from doing what the devil really wants, with nuclear war, eventually God's going to withdraw his hand of protection, because people are going to get more and more sinful and hate him. But right now, if you don't know Jesus, I pray that you really turn to him and surrender to him and give your life to him, because he did die for you on the cross. He is God in the flesh, and he loves you, and he wants a personal relationship with you. So that's the most important thing